I'm gonna go ahead and try to create what I did a moment ago. For just sort of a template, I just went into examples and chose brightness, right? So that way I have the structure, and then I can go ahead and delete things out. So I will actually leave some things in, so I'm gonna call it lewitt, and it's gonna be by me, and I'm gonna call it a generative art experiments inspired by the arts and process of lewitt. I do need a array of values, so I think I'm actually going to call this values. Ooh, it just doesn't like values. I'm going to call it array values underscore, because that's more like Python style. Okay. And then inside of here, I'm going to say 0, 0, 0, a bunch of zeros. Yeah, that looks like a good number. Okay. And then I have my setup. I'm going to do that. All right. And then for here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to... Oh, I deleted the... Do I need this? Do I need that? Let's see. Alright. So I'm gonna make this maybe, let's just go with 700 by 1,000. And I do need to do global array values here. If I don't, then it might create a little individual or its own version of array values inside of here, or it might just not know where to access it from. So by saying global, it's saying like, hey, pay attention to what's outside of this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that for each val, and I'm just making up this name, it actually doesn't matter what it is, in array values. Alright, and then I'm going to say point. That's going to be each val, and then this is going to be y. So I do also need a global y. And so y is going to equal... I'm going to start with 10 just so that we can try to make sure that it's actually working. Alright, let's try drawing this and seeing what happens. Okay, the background is black, so I can't see anything. Let's try again. Okay, I've got a dot there. And right. Okay, so I did this wrong. That's okay. What I'm gonna do is this is gonna be y plus each val, because remember how on my drawing I was modifying the height based on the value in here. And this actually was just across the top. So this needs to be width divided by however many values there are in here. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's 14 of those. And then multiply that by whatever the current value is, right? So that way they should go across evenly. So each val, actually I don't want it to be times each val. I want it to be times whatever the current index value is. So how do I check the index value of that? Let's see. For in loop Python index value. Alright. Access index of a list using a loop. Is this what I want? My list index val. Okay, that's fine. So based on that, it should be index this, and then this is index. Let's see if that works. Nope. Okay, we also need enumerate. Okay, so we're gonna say enumerate Alright, and at that point I probably need to actually make this match what's in there because this is a special function. So if we do that and we run it, there we go. So now we've got all these little dots across the top, right? And they're divided across. That looks pretty good. Okay. So now what I need to do is I need to make it do this multiple times as it goes through. So then we're going to say that y is going to plus equal itself maybe plus 10. Alright, there we go. That looks pretty good. Alright. And then what I want to do is I want it to add a random amount to each one of those. So we have enumerate here. Alright. Array values. So instead what I'm going to try is that array values, and this is going to be index because we called ours index. Alright. And it's going to equal val, because I called mine val, plus this, and we will see if that works. We are getting different values here, so that's good, but I don't see that they're all drawing here, although maybe they are. I guess they are. They just look like they're all straight. Okay, well, we will give it a shot and see if it draws what I want it to. So now what I want, ooh, what if we just did +1? Maybe that would be interesting. Okay, yeah, I can see that that actually is working. Maybe just the random amount, it's less obvious because it's not a super huge value and they're by pixels, and so it's pretty small. So maybe the +10, it's not obvious enough. Alright, let's see, what do I want to do next? Next I want to do the line. So if I'm going to do a line, then it needs to be, a line has two sets of values, right? So it needs to have the starting one. So the starting one would be one, then the finishing one. So this would be the finishing point of the line, right? The previous one would be whatever the previous one was. I'm just going to make a new variable over here, and I'm just going to call it prev. That's going to equal 0, and I'm going to say here global prev, and there's probably a better way to do this, but this will be faster, and I am okay with that. Alright, so this would be -1, right? Because that's where it is. That's where it is along here. That is actually already quite interesting. That's not what I was expecting. Although it is cool. I do like that, but let me go ahead and hide that for a moment. Alright, so by doing the -1 here, that's going to tell it to look at the previous one. Alright. And then what I need is I need it to be not by y-val, but whatever the previous y-val was. So prev is going to equal y plus val. And then this will be that value, right? So I'm storing whatever the new one is here, right? And then when I'm drawing this line, I'm referring to whatever it was previously. That's a little confusing, just because of the order that I'm doing this in. It may make more sense to kind of do it here, right? That might make more sense. I think one issue is maybe this part. Well, yeah, no, I think that's okay. I think it's okay. Let's see what happens. There we go. Look at that. That's pretty much what I wanted to create, and that's pretty cool. I think it looks much cooler here than it would have trying to do it on the grid paper, right? My only other thought is that maybe I make stroke be whatever is currently inside of, would it be val? Yeah, it would be val. So stroke becomes val, and it starts to fade to white. Ooh, that faded really fast. I was not expecting it to fade that fast. Maybe divided by 10. Not as fast as I would like. You can't even tell. Maybe divided by 5. better. I know that it fades, but someone else may not realize that it fades. Divided by 3. There we go. That's pretty cool. The only thing that bothers me is that it goes off the end here, and I kind of knew it would because of how I did index -1. I'm not really sure what the best way to fix that is. If I just did index, or no, because I multiplied it by the index, and I divided by 14. What if I divided by 13 instead? Would that fix it? That did not fix it. Although that is also interesting, but that is not what I wanted. I wonder if instead of doing it by the actual width, let's see if this is 700. I'm wondering if I use the 700 but then actually make this smaller, right? So what if this is like 650? No, it definitely doesn't like, oh. Ah, because maybe over here. Okay. There we go. So a moment ago when I had done that, what did I do? I tried something else. Oh, when I did the 13. Okay, so if I do these by 13 and I do that one by 13 too, maybe it's because I missed that one. Alright, there we go. That's pretty good. So there's still a slight bit over there, but it's not too bad. So if I do by 12, I might lose a point, or the very last part might be a little chopped off. Yeah, you can see it's a little, like, it's just barely on the edge there, which I don't quite like. The 13 looks nicer, really. But it kind of is what it is. But overall, I think it's a pretty cool effect, and it did more or less what I wanted it to do. I do think that maybe this should be by a higher amount. When I was doing it on the graph paper, it was very noticeable. Now the other thing is I might instead change this. Maybe instead of by 1, maybe it's by like 5 or some greater amount. I don't know. But you get the idea. There are different ways that we could play with this. So it's interesting either way. I do like what I'm doing with it. So yeah, you can play with that idea. You could add in some other colors as well. Maybe instead of this, maybe I have, let's see, maybe I bring back Y, and maybe we add in RGB values. So that's kind of neat. So just kind of a neat experiment inspired by lewitt. So I hope you try that out. I hope this overall made sense. Parts of it were a little tricky, but hopefully you're starting to get sort of the hang of it and kind of how it works.